Okay? Hey, I taken the show over, man. I took it over. It's me now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Get
can
used
I
to
please
it.
have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're
I'm
doing
kidding.
and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program mega worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, your comedian and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the show. I can't believe it. Hi, Johnny Million. How are you, my friend?
Hal Sparks. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm terrific. There's so much. Remember like 35 years ago, when Donald Trump had to surrender himself in New York. Remember that? And there was like, I don't know.
It seems ridiculously long ago.
Yes, it does. It's it's a curious thing, to say the very least. I am not sure what about this week added that extra timescape, messed with
What
it.
could it be? Yeah.
Made it sort of like a I guess what would you call it? Like a watching a car accident in slow motion. It'd be like the inverse of that. Like everything just happens so fast. You're like,
dream.
yes, exactly. Just very strange week, and apparently, I don't know if you know this, but it was the end of our democracy. That it was done this week.
Oh my goodness! I forgot to mark my calendar.
That's right. Yep, you're gonna have to put it in there. It'll be a holiday, obviously, and obviously
show up like on my Google Calendar when I've got the federal holidays.
That's right. So, yeah, it's like a holiday slash a commune day, I suppose.
Yeah.
But right, sure. Why not? But the hilarity of of how much stuff went down this week, that literally, there was a worry, a concern that people would forget that Tuesday this week was the anniversary of the day that MLK was assassinated. And because it was also the day that Donald Trump turned himself in for the indictment. And I would say to those folks, rest assured, the day he actually has to sit in court or makes one particular face, it'll be a meme day. Or when he gets convicted and sentencing day, that's going to be the holiday attached to it. Now, granted, it'll probably take so much time that there are those among the right wing that will be very upset if it ends up on 420. Not because of the pot association of that day, but because I think it's Hitler's birthday as well, which I really do appreciate.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that that the potheads seized that day back on the calendar. Good for them. And by the way, I'm not just bringing that up, because what's a day? How do you let a day pass without a Hitler reference when it comes to the right wing?
we seem to manage it every single week. Yeah.
I mean, they make it easy, I have to say. But we have so much to talk about. And by the way, Hal Vickery, right out of the gate, helping us out, and Bald Thanos.
So is Lisa
as well.
Miamore.
Lisa Miamore, bless you so much. Thank you very much for supporting the show. And I just realized I have the wrong graphic up behind my head, and it's so embarrassing. And by the way, if you're feeling like it, we live stream as well. You can listen on WCPT, and you can watch us on infotainmentwars.com or twitch.tv/Hal Sparks, or on Twitter for however long that thing blows up. We'll talk about that in a second. Or Facebook, where if you want to support the show, you can become a member of the page there, the Hal Sparks page, and watch the show and all that kind of stuff, and gather and gaggle and talk. And hi, Facebook people. And you can also contribute to the show using stars. That's the Facebook method to sort of super chat. It's very convoluted, it's adorable, and it's available to you to help us out. And you can also blah, blah, blah. Okay, now. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got Clarence Thomas being funded by a dude who took him. That story.
Who doesn't want to go on vacation with Clarence Thomas?
Oh my God, Ginny. No, I think she's the only person who wants to go on vacation with him. That story is coming up. That just gets more amazing by the day. We're also going to talk about the Tennessee 3, and it's Tennessee 3-3, Tennessee in general 0. But we'll get to that in a minute. And okay, there are very few things that could just be so hilariously ironic and spectacular at the same time that they could kind of memory hole Donald Trump's turning himself in. Another, by the way, much like his campaign launch this year, much like his Waco rally, which were supposed to be these thunderous moments in MAGA history that would redirect the energy. This is it. Lighting the fire, man. This is when it's going to happen. He's been toying around with campaigning for a while, but Mar-a-Lago. He's going to announce it to few dozen sycophants and the 2 family members that show up, and this is going to be the thing, man. And then it just deflates, like a flan in a cupboard, I think is what Eddie Izzard used to say. And then
that would not hang in there for very long.
No, and then the Waco. No, not at all. Just imagine one on a windowsill. And then the next one, of course, that like kind of the big moment, because it was, quite frankly, it's a flagging campaign. It's a little dull. He's turning out these little 30-second, 2-minute videos on his Rumble account that nobody watches except me to make fun of them. And I'm the main audience. I'm the main thoroughfare on my live stream for people to actually see those stupid things. He just parks them there so he can air them on Truth Social without taking up hard drive space, because Truth Social is collapsing and he doesn't want his videos lost when the website shuts down. That's true. All right. Then he's been promised by the Rumble people that they're safe there. Anyways, so then it was, I guess technically we go back before this to the Mar-a-Lago search and seizure warrant, because that was also going to be the big thing. Remember? That was the big deal.
Oh boy.
Which is, by the way, what
so many times it's almost like it's not really happening.
You get that feeling that every wind up is a wind down, just like built into it. Like Trump, in many ways, like his people talk about him like he's the Energizer Bunny, when really he's one of those pull string dolls that just says the same 3 things over and over again and goes, like at the end of it, right? So
kind of like an energy vampire.
Yeah, well, I would say that, but one would think an energy vampire would have a lot of energy.
You're right.
Right? He used to seem like that. Now, he's like the mummy in Bubba Hotep. It might be the souls he's feasting on, just don't give him the same amount of oomph, right? Then after the 3 big, remember the big, like it seems like 100 years ago, each one of these things is like ridiculous. They were supposed to change the course of human history, and they're like, oh, I remember that. That's hilarious. It's right up there with Stompers, the cars that I wish they would bring back that ride over stuff that just took a doubly bad.
Those commercials made them look like the thing to have.
They were the thing to have. I lost 2 of them in the creek in Kentucky. Anyways, it's a long story. So
Seems like the kind of thing that Chris Bell and I would have set on fire in his sandbox.
I don't doubt it. And by the way, in your mid-30s. So yeah. So,
just like 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. This is all right. We got to get somewhere with this story, because this has got the lead up on this is
11:13 already.
I know, magnificent. This lead up that's coming, Johnny Million. I need to share this with you, because
Hit me.
After Trump turns himself in, this is supposed to be the biggest thing ever, and then all of a sudden, womp womp. Not really, obviously. But we get
Carol Cobb. Sorry, Carol Cobb just hit us with a super chat too.
Oh, thank you, Carol Cobb. Bless you. I need to get the little
turbulent
leaderboard
times,
so
but it seems more hopeful in terms of accountability.
Yep.
Hopefully, this is the find out era.
Oh yes, we are definitely in the faux part of the FAFO era right now. At least this year. Like I have been saying, and people questioned me, but I'm telling you, there will not be enough popcorn for 2023, people. There will not. And we'll get to this is the big one, though. This is the one we got to lead into this. This is so funny that I fell over at the timing and the perfect throwdown of this story. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Taibbi, the bald former Russian exile, with a lowercase e and a capital X, zine publisher in Russia for 7 years, started his own, Substack called The Racket, which, I mean, come on. I guess he's admitting it, The Racket, and it's with money that Elon Musk gave him to promote the Twitter files, has quit Twitter after Elon Musk has made it, quote, unusable. That's right. Yeah. And again, welcome to Fafo Town. I don't know what to tell you. Everybody was, I mean, how do you not know? How do you not see this coming? How do you not recognize that the dude you're working for is a self-involved billionaire whose entire idea is to crash social media as we know it, because it's used, because more than Facebook and some of these other sites, Twitter is used all over the world for quick communication. During the Jasmine Revolution, for example, Twitter was the main communication source, and the Iranians have hated it ever since, and they have blocked it. And many countries started blocking Twitter specifically for that reason. And the United States didn't under Jan 6, they just said if you say anything violent, you're violating the terms of service, and you get bumped off, and off you go. But they didn't shut down we didn't shut down the service overall. That's what they do in other countries, and it hasn't been enough because of VPNs and other stuff. People are still able to use it, and they want people to go to WhatsApp because it's more confusing and harder to, and they can break into certain accounts and lure people other ways. There's no big group activity the way there is on Twitter that can correct for those kind of situations. So they've been after Twitter for a long time, and Elon seems hell-bent on giving them exactly what they want. The same day that Matt Taibbi had to quit Twitter because it is unusable, because he can no longer post Substack links on it, which was the entire point of his deal with Elon Musk, to get these parsed out piecemeal pieces of garbage passing for the Twitter files so that he would only see what Elon Musk wants him to see and report only on the parts that Elon Musk wants him to see. And then he goes, you can use it. I'll give you exclusive. You can put it on your Substack, but you have to put it on Twitter first. That was their deal. He even said so. And he used it basically to do the long form on Substack and the medium-sized form or whatever on Twitter. That was their deal. And that funded the creation of the Racket on Substack, no matter what Matt Taibbi says. He didn't get the money directly. He got the exclusive, which is a contribution in kind if it was a campaign. You know what I mean? Like he got this free access because he is on the payroll. He is on the take. He is willing to say what Elon Musk wants him to say so that the gravy train of these files never stopped. And then Elon Musk decided he didn't like the Substack's notes feature, which is like Twitter, because people were commenting freely. You could join the free version, and you could comment on stories on there like you can with news stories on Twitter. So he just decided to not allow anybody to do Substack links on Twitter anymore. And you can't even look it up. If you search Substack, and this is it too, ladies and gentlemen, anybody who thinks that Elon Musk is a free speech purist, if you search for Substack right now, the isolated word that will come up that it interprets as your search is newsletter.
Oh.
Try it. Go into the Twitter field and type in Substack in the search, and you will see that all of the tweets that come up, the highlighted word that supposedly is your search term is newsletter, not Substack. It translates it into another form to divert it to call it a newsletter. And that can be any newsletter. It doesn't have to be on Substack. It can be anywhere. And so it generics a form of one particular business to another form so that it's generic, so that he can, it doesn't promote anything. And that's why Matt Taibbi, who's been telling us the whole time about the power of the free speech and the Democrats, the Biden campaign doing stuff and asking for things for, as Mehdi Hassan absolutely stomped Matt Taibbi's argument this week, was talking about how, these were non-consensual nudes of someone that they asked to be taken down, and it was a request. They didn't insist. They didn't threaten a lawsuit. They certainly didn't threaten the power of the government the way Donald Trump did. We got to take a break. I'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
You're locked into the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I was just going off on the Chinese economy, which is in dire straits right now, and during the break, because I don't think even people recognize the enormity of it. I've talked about the ghost cities. I've been there. I've seen them. We've talked about the collapse of Evergrande, the zombie real estate company that has $3 billion worth of debt and about 100,000 homes it can't afford to build that are already paid for, and no bailout coming at any time. There's Countrywide. There's all these other secondary companies, and it turns out that Chinese local governments have $9 trillion in unsecured debt set up through what are called local government financial vehicles. That and the only example I could give is, Chicago. If Chicago wants to raise money for a project, the board and the mayor can get together and issue a bond, or call for the issuance of a bond, or even have a referendum on the issuance of a bond, depending on the degree of it and whether or not a certain kind of bond has already been signed off on for these kind of things by a vote 10 years ago, those kind of things. But you can do it within the city. But you're also answerable as an elected official to that bond issuance. If it doesn't pay for a school, then you can get voted out and people will complain, and where did the money go? And there'll be an audit and the city can go after it. In China, cities are not allowed to do that by the CCP. So they form what are called local government financial vehicles, which is like think of it as Chicago Schools Incorporated, or Chicago Roads Incorporated, or Chicago series of high-rises with no one wanting to live in them Incorporated, Chicago Land Grab Incorporated. Like that's what they do. And then they issue these things. They create these companies. Those companies get a bond, from an investor bond from overseas for the building of something. And then they effectively, on paper, they only exist on paper, they give it to the city to spend on other stuff. And then it's gone, and it never builds the thing ever. And that just and the only way you can get out of the hole of trying to pay off the bond money is to take another bond, so you create another vehicle that pays the money on the other bond or whatever. Anyways, it stacks and stacks. It's totally unsustainable. It's a Ponzi scheme, and it's insane. And every major city, most minor cities, and every province has stacks and stacks of these things, to the point where they have a $9 trillion unleveraged debt, with and that's not on top of the federal debt that they would have, with their equivalent federal debt, what the CCP's debt is, which is 130% over their GDP. So we're talking, $16 trillion. There's another 9 on top of that. Their debt is almost equal to ours, and ours is, what are we talking, like, we have a $26 trillion economy, about a $31 trillion debt. They have a $16 trillion economy. If you're being honest, probably 12 and $22 trillion worth of debt, and nowhere to park it. U.S. could sell bonds because people look at Wall Street, they look at American real estate, they look at stuff, and they're like, I can trust this. This is possible. No one is investing in China at all right now. Year over year, foreign investment is down 112%. That's not good. It was already low post-COVID. That's year over year to 2021, and then 2020, which it really ate crap and left. That's when everybody left. It's been going down ever since. So I got on a big tear about that this morning, because there are a bunch of people who think that the Chinese using yuan with Brazil is going to de-dollarize the world, and that people are going to trust the yuan as the new reserve currency, when in reality, you know what China's reserve currency is? U.S. dollars. The yuan is pinned to the U.S. dollar. If the U.S. dollar goes down, the yuan crashes. So they have they have a real impetus. They have a real need, a genuine need to guarantee that the dollar stays strong. Because if it drops at all, then they're in huge trouble. Long story, another time. Watch the live stream during the week and you'll get a slice of that kind of stuff. But back to the death of Twitter. At this point, Jonathan Katz newsletter. Okay, this is Elon Musk's crew disabled interactions and replies to a tweet that Jonathan Katz on Earth, wrote. And I think he's on the racket. He writes for Matt Taibbi's site. And it was eagerly awaiting Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss's investigation into this apparent act of censorship. He's called, he might just be messing around. We're investigating report. This is a Substack tweet that they put up. We're investigating reports that Twitter embeds and authentication no longer work on Substack. We are actively trying to resolve this and we'll share updates as additional information becomes available. So not only can you not take Substack links and put them on Twitter, which again is Matt Taibbi's bread and butter, it's also Cy Hirsch's, the whole nonsense article, garbage, goofy article from Cy Hirsch about the Nord Stream pipeline that everybody was like, oh, this is the truth, and finally the truthiness. That was on Substack, kids. Cy Hirsch has a Substack. That's his primary outlet. It's also his primary way of making a living. And one of the ways you heard about it, most people heard about it, was because people tweeted about his article. And now that's impossible. If Cy Hirsch did a follow-up, mea culpa, where he admits that it was garbage or he tries to double down on this nonsense, he couldn't even post on Twitter to go, here's the latest from Cy Hirsch on Substack. Elon Musk will not let him. Now, after all the stories that we dealt with the Hunter Biden laptop and the New York Post story that was, only not available for about 6 hours, the New York Post site was still up. And if people referenced it, they were okay. That happened. That went on for weeks, a couple weeks or whatever. That was one site, one story that was, in fact, manipulative October surprise Russian disinformation through Rudy Giuliani, period, end of story. And the tapping of the brakes by the Twitter team about letting it just fly all over the place that close to an election was very close to their position on a lot of possible October surprises. This isn't that. This is an entire news source. This is where Substack, and I don't use Substack, and I'm not on it, and I don't subscribe to anybody on it, but I'm aware, like many other people, that long-form bits of journalism have been done on Substack for a while now because you've got it's the Tumblr for I guess journalists that are on the outs with their old publisher. Their publisher wouldn't let them go all the way on a story or wouldn't let them fill in the parts, and it's somewhere between writing the book and keeping your job at the Washington Post is Substack. That's it. If you are made to make a binary choice between those two things to follow a story because you want to leave another beat to go after one and you disagree with your editor and blah, blah. Substack was a way that a lot of these journalists could find a way to either supplement their income at another news organization or flat out produce the news that they believe is important. And it grew into that thing. And Elon Musk has shut it all down on Twitter. And the irony that the person who drew the most attention to that fact and ate it during that, as heavily as heavier than anybody else was Matt Taibbi, like Musk's own gimp, zipper hood and all, goes crawling back into the trunk and shuts the lid himself because you lay down with dogs and you wake up with typhoid or bubonic plague, I guess. We got to take a break.
That's what it is.
That's exactly right. We'll be back right after this with the tumultuous story of Clarence Thomas travel show, Lifestyles of the Rich and SCOTUS.